The tribe has spoken. You are voted off the island. Those words can be tough to hear, but when you've signed up for the festival of humiliation that is reality TV, you get what you deserve, as well as your own starring role in a stolen sex tape. The same can't be said in a classroom of 5-year-olds. You've got to see this next story to believe it.
5-year-old Alex Barton will be starting his summer vacation early. His mother doesn't want him to return to school after what allegedly happened in class at Morningside Elementary Wednesday afternoon.
I will never be able to send him to school again without first worrying, is something going to happen?
Alex's mom admits he's had behavioral problems and can be difficult at times. She says he's undergoing tests to determine if he suffers from autism and other disorders. But she claims a Wednesday incident pushed the lines of discipline into the realm of abuse.
Took him and stood him in front of all of his classmates this week, asked every single child in the class who was present to tell Alex why we don't like him. And his words was, tell Alex why we hate him.
After having each child individually ridicule the boy, she says the teacher continued belittling him.
Then they had a vote on if he deserved to stay in the class or not.
Like a twisted reality show, Barton says in a 14-2 vote, his classmates voted the 5-year-old out of the classroom.
But I never thought that she would subject my child to such mental abuse.
Barton filed complaints with DCF and police. She says the teacher overstepped her bounds. After conferring with the state attorney's office, police found no grounds for charges, but the school district is investigating the incident. Barton suspects other students may have suffered as well.
If other parents are out there who has had this teacher or currently has this teacher, come forward, talk to your kids, find out what she's been doing, because this is wrong.
The school district says it's investigating the incident, and for now the teacher has been reassigned to a non-teaching role, which, given the state of our public schools, I'm not sure that really makes a difference. Joining me now is Wendy Murphy, professor at the New England School of Law and author of And Justice for Some, and Laura Kirby-McIntosh, a teacher and mother of a child with autism who started an online petition hoping to get this Florida teacher fired. Laura, you're in Canada. This happened in Florida. How did you hear about it?
I was just online late Sunday night and saw the story come across the wire, linked to a Florida newspaper to confirm that it was true, and couldn't believe my eyes when I read what had happened.
What kind of response have you gotten with your online petition?
Well, at last check, I'm told it's up over 3,000 signatures. It's taken off in a way that I couldn't have imagined.
And you're the mom of a child with autism, but you're also a teacher.
Right.
Look, I had some dopey teachers, and by the way, when I was in class, the vote was unanimous to get rid of me. That's a separate issue. What do you do with a teacher like this? Isn't that really the fundamental problem here?
It really is. I mean, I've been teaching for 15 years, and it's a profession that I absolutely adore. And this whole situation is not something that I took lightly. It takes a lot to take a teacher like me to start a petition to suggest that somebody should not be in the profession. But even if one part of this story isn't true, even if I haven't heard the other side of the story, the idea that any teacher would use public humiliation as a form of discipline, to me is just fundamentally wrong, and she's not somebody who should be looking after 5-year-old children.
You know, Wendy, when I first saw this story, I thought, where's Wendy Murphy on this case? We got to get her involved. She'll straighten this out. What can parents, the other parents in the school, what can the community do?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you to Laura, because what a wonderful parent, what a wonderful role model for the rest of us.
Absolutely.
I tell you, I would start a petition. I don't have to because she did, but that's one thing parents can do. Parents should work together. When one child suffers, it really is a signal to the rest of us that all of our children are not getting a good education from a healthy, responsible teacher. Now, there's a possibility that there are other victims of this teacher out there, because any teacher who functions like that, especially with a potentially disabled child, he's 5 years old.
Is there a legal recourse? That's my question.
This is what I was going to suggest to you, is there's got to be something wrong with her. And when a teacher is that bad, there are legal options. And let me give you a couple of them. First of all, you can bring a basic lawsuit against the school for her behavior. She's an agent of the school. Now, lawsuits against schools are tough. In some states, they have outright immunity. They can do whatever they damn well please and almost never be held liable. But a kid with disabilities, Americans with Disabilities Act kicks in. It's kind of like a civil rights claim. You can sue a school. You should sue a school. And it isn't about the money. It's about sending a message and getting that teacher out.
But, you know, remember, we are talking about allegations at this point, and also it's Florida, so we haven't seen the hanging chads yet. I mean, it could be the guy, you know, that's supposed to not even this close. We don't know. But to be serious for a second, Laura, I have a question, though, about the issue of mainstreaming kids. You're a teacher and the mother of a child with autism. Let's say that the teacher's a nut, which she apparently is, and that the kids were put in a terrible position. What if it is the case this child was, in fact, so disruptive that the other kids were having trouble learning? I mean, could it be that in a very inappropriate, outrageous, unacceptable way, there's a message here about what's going on in the classroom?
Well, I think your question raises a number of points. Certainly, parents of typically developing children sometimes have concerns when students with disabilities are integrated into a mainstream classroom. You know, my son can be disruptive. He can have outbursts of temper, and he can be aggressive, and he can say things that he doesn't think about the consequences of. Certainly, my son's not easy to teach, but there's an opportunity to learn about differences. There's a lesson, there's a possibility to learn not just about tolerance, but about compassion. And that's a teachable moment. As teachers, that's what we look for in the classroom, is there an opportunity to learn? Rather than shun the child or humiliate him publicly, what about teaching them to understand, you know, why does this boy hum and sing to himself? Why does he have difficulty in conversations? And what can we do to support him and include him? These children are not going to be able to live all of their lives without encountering people with disabilities.
And you know, the story, Wendy, highlights the amount that we have to rely on teachers and their judgment, which always makes it disturbing, because I have 4 kids, 3 of them in school, 1 of them starts kindergarten next year. And if a teacher is truly just a lousy teacher, and let's face it, there are lousy TV show hosts, as I'm demonstrating right now. It's almost impossible in the government system to get rid of teachers, no matter how flawed they are. Look at this teacher. She's reassigned. Will she ever be gone? And what can the citizens and taxpayers do about that?
Well, let's hope she's not working with children and she's doing secretarial stuff. But unions are a problem. If you're a tenured teacher who's horrible and abusive, unions will support you in your quest to keep your job. That's embarrassing. Lawmakers can and should be doing something about that. We can pass laws that make it easier to get rid of bad teachers. We've never really rallied about that. We should. And you know what? I have 5 kids. I've had the phone call every so often. Your kid's being disruptive, or they're singing, or whatever. You know what? Take the kid out of the classroom. Here are the choices. Berate the child, destroy the child's sense of self-esteem and worth in front of all their friends, or, oh, I don't know, take the child out of the classroom. What do you choose? I'm not even a teacher, and I know the right answer.
But Wendy, you and I live in Massachusetts, and as you know, the state senate just voted to say that if a teacher failed the basic skills test 3 times, they were going to let him or her teach anyway. And that's why we got to have the standards, because challenges like autistic children, but addressing the needs of the whole class, are so tough. We've got to count on good judgment. You two have been great guests. Thanks so much for joining me, Laura, Wendy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll be back in just a minute.